Someone's missing. And I think it's me. These are the words my beautiful husband said to me when he had few words left to him. I couldn't have imagined then that they would someday be the title of a visual memoir about an artist couple, me and my beloved husband, Jerry Donato, as we tried to navigate the mysteries and terrors of early onset dementia. Dementia, in its various forms, is a disease of losing the ability to drive, read, write, speak, eat, and finally breathe. With every loss, I only love Jerry more. He'd become translucent, his radiant spirit ever more apparent. It's often said that memory makes us human, but studies show what actually makes us unique as human beings is not our ability to project into the past or the future, but into each other. To see Jerry look at a child, a tree, a fellow patient, or me was to be awed by the infinite capacity for empathy we all have. He was never missing. In the 8 years of Jerry's illness, I kept diaries and I made drawings and paintings of him in his luminous, diminishing days. It was a way to try to make sense of what was happening and a way to keep him with me. After Jerry left the living world, people would sometimes ask for help dealing with loss. I'd tell them what I tell art students wanting career advice. Don't do what I did. I did not join a grief support group. I thought I'd had enough of sorrow. And I stopped seeing my wise counselor. What I did do instinctively was begin creating a picture memoir of our great adventure with dementia. I jot down the stories of the things that happened in those beautiful, terrible days. Images of my paintings and Jerry's and those of our artist friends came to mind, along with objects like Jerry's license plate, which read doubt. Images that illuminate more than illustrate each story. The book began to take form. I wanted it to open horizontally like my laptop, and a reader said this unexpected orientation made them think of how disorienting illness and loss can be. My intention had been to create the book I could never find in those years of illness. I wanted to share advice about the things that I'd learned, and I did, but ultimately the book became a love story. In our almost 4 decades together, our friends would sometimes tease, no one ever says Joan or Jerry, it's always Joan and Jerry. It was a life of art, love of reading, and talking. All lost to us. So we compensated. We had rarely listened to music with lyrics because it interfered with our constant conversation. So we started playing opera with dinner, and after we danced to Muddy Waters and Sun House. This wild Chicago artist in Gentile, Virginia, was an admired painter and an adored professor. My hope had been that he'd be able to continue to paint like his favorite artist, William de Kooning, did beautifully into the late stages of Alzheimer's disease. But Jerry's colorful, raucous, badass paintings had become watery and dreamy. The essential element in all his art, his alter ego, an earless Mickey Mouse, who we called Mr. Man, was gone. Jerry had taken himself out of the picture. Still, art was how he expressed himself when he felt powerless. The cover of Someone's Missing is made from a ripped up photo of his young self that he had left on our bed, the mouth gone. He'd created an image of his inability to speak, of his frustration and fear. It was a vivid portrayal of our lives torn apart. When assisted living became necessary, we found ourselves in a place with ancient residents surrounded by even more ancient pine trees that we loved walking under. Jerry would take the bark from fallen branches and arrange and rearrange with deep smiling absorption. He was making art. We don't have to be full-time artists or authors to process loss with images and words. In 2001, my youngest niece, 6 at the time, kept a picture diary. After 9/11, her drawings don't deal directly with the tragedy, but they seem to be a way for her to try to make sense of her world. Her older sister, Jerry's goddaughter, made a book for me after we lost him with photos and postcards and ribbons inscribed by family and friends. My goddaughter niece made pendants of Jerry's alter ego, Mr. Mann, for me to share. And I'm finding that the sharing is very much a part of the healing. I read recently in the New York Times Science section that creating graphic memoirs and sharing them has found to help those dealing with loss. So many of us now, even the very young. The study favorably compares the making of these books to support groups and counseling. The article doesn't mention the effect of writing about grief or making art about it separately. Is it the combination that's healing? I think it all must help, and the sharing. I hadn't intended for Someone's Missing to be therapy for me. I wanted an offering. There's often an instinct to make tragedy count for something, like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. The healing for me has been in the reaction to the book. My repeat Uber driver told me that Someone's Missing helped him feel less alone when his wife's breast cancer brought on dementia. He said, even my children didn't understand. And connecting with art students, sharing our projects around loss, sometimes with mask-soaking tears, has been a gift. Some of them want to become art therapists. One girl, a film major, lost her mother 5 years ago. And she says the rawness in Someone's Missing helps her feel understood. We're so different. She's very young and tells me she's mixed race and adopted. I'm none of those things, and yet we have a deep connection. I feel understood too. There's loss beyond our loved ones, of course. We lose our homes, our homelands, our health, our well-being. There's stories here too that help us hold on to what's dear and share the beauty in what we find. And it helps to remember that our suffering is equal to the love of what is lost to us. And the love is ours to keep and share in images and words forever. Thank you.